Video games. We all know them, some hate them. Many of us love and grew up with them. They have a magic that takes us out of reality and lets us escape for a while. From the early days of Pac-Man and Space Invaders during the arcade era, right through the console wars and PC Master Race argument, they are a vital piece of modern pop culture that bring joy to so many, even when they do often get a bad rep. The argument of whether they are addictive or bad for development or make a generation of lazy people is one that will forever go on. But what if this isn't entirely true? With an ever-growing industry and more prominence in people's lives, what if video games actually do more good than bad? Modern video games have expanded what it means to be a video game. While they do still provide escapism to other worlds, letting us live out other lives, modern video games are seeped in realism. No one can really relate to an Italian plumber in blue dungarees saving a princess from a giant spiky turtle, or a blue hedgehog that goes really fast, or even a giant yellow circle with a mouth that eats ghosts. Or maybe some people can, who knows. But game developers understand this though, and that's why modern characters have become more and more relatable over time, and the situation they are in, no matter whether it's far off in the future, way in the past, in the present day, or in a completely different world or universe. We can relate more and more to characters now more than ever. So with this diverse cast of creative and relatable characters, what if it's having more of a positive benefit on mental health than we tend to see, especially on the mental health of young people?
I am a gamer. You can probably tell just from one look at me, or maybe the room kinda gives it away. Now we were all young once and so was I. We all have our first console and so do I. This may surprise some, but my first ever console was my parents' Sega Mega Drive, playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2 most of the time. Now this wasn't my favourite game for this though. That title falls to Zombies, or Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Me and my brother would spend hours playing that game at our grandma's back in the day. But from that day though, playing Sega games all the time, my love and passion for video games grew. Going from a PS2 to the Nintendo DS to the Wii, to a 3DS to an Xbox 360 and a PS3, all the way through to now owning a Switch, an Xbox One, a PS4 and a PC. All these consoles are still here with me and with every game that I ever grew up with. Video games to me have been more than just entertainment though. As a kid they were probably just entertainment, but coming home from school and booting up the PS2 or Xbox helped me to calm after the stresses that school brings. And this is still the same now. But now it's different, and I feel a lot of people, especially young people, will relate to this a little bit. Living with mental health issues for the past 10 plus years, video games have been one of the sole reasons that I've managed to cope on some days. Whether it be an online multiplayer like Destiny and Overwatch that let me escape into other distant futures and live amongst the diverse cast of characters like Tracer and Cade 6. Or story-driven single-player games like Telltale's The Walking Dead or The Last of Us series or 2018 Spider-Man or even the Life is Strange series, with their sort of relatable characters and stories, especially those around mental health and loss, that are easy to sort of fall into and become obsessed with. Or even open-world sandboxes like The Sims, Minecraft, Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. They sort of let me create a world for me to escape into for a while, and with its blend of music and the way that the game works, it just relaxes me so much. Video games have always been there for me, and always will be there for me. On the good days, the bad days, the days in between, and the days when mental health leaves me feeling trapped. Nothing is better than picking up a controller, putting on a headset and falling into a different world, as an escape from sort of the real world for a while still letting me think about the real world issues that are presented in the games themselves. Video games to me always have been and always will be both a passion and escape away from the many mental health issues and daily stresses of life that I'm sure many young people can relate to.
The past year has proved to be tough on everyone, myself included, and I know a lot of people would agree with me in saying that if it wasn't for video games providing a needed escape from the ongoing events in the world, a lot of people would be worse off than they are, especially young people. COVID and numerous lockdowns has meant more people have been seeking an escape, jumping into video games, and they have led to more and more young people connecting together online through the games that they love. This has meant that many new people have come into the gaming world, and more are now enjoying jumping into a game. If it's to fall into a world and help them through bad mental health days, or even to have some contact when they're feeling alone, video games are always there for anybody that needs them. As a result, young people are the generation that are changing the way that mental health issues are perceived, even more so now than before, compared to a few years ago. How young people have pushed the boundaries and understanding of living with mental health being in a more positive, kind and caring light, especially including male mental health in the conversation, has shifted many of society's prejudices against people who live with these issues. There are still some that tend to downplay or brush off the seriousness of the situation though, especially where young people are involved, by calling them out for being inexperienced or lazy, and this has had an effect on the way some generations see video games. But it's clear to see that video games have a positive effect on young people's mental health, and is being helped by gaming more than what is being seen. So from this, I decided to ask a few young people about their experiences with mental health, and how video games have helped them through tougher times.
They help me quite a lot and they have a massive impact on how I feel, because it's that form of escapism, escaping to a different world or different things, and that sense of being able to control what's happening in that moment, and it just helps, you know, calm things down and chills me out basically.
I guess it's a form of escapism from responsibilities and real life worries. It takes my mind off things for quite a while.
I play a variety of games really, mainly like that sandbox type Minecraft and Animal Crossing, that chill style of games, and then also I like to play the story driven games because it's another form of escapism and feeling like you're in something. It helps a lot with your brain and just chills you out.
Like Overwatch and Animal Crossing, and sometimes even like graphic novels, sort of ones. Yes, because you can talk to other people while playing some games. Sometimes it relaxes you, and sometimes you can just have fun.
I think they do quite a lot, and the events of the past year and everything being in lockdown, the likes of multiplayer games, it's really helped people socialise and come together, and obviously socialising is good for your mental health and your brain because you feel together and yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm here at the National Video Game Museum in Sheffield, a hub of gaming energy and history, and a regular visit of many gamers of all ages pre-lockdown, to talk with them about how video games have helped young people's mental health, especially in the modern day.
Here at the museum, I'm the venue manager, so I manage the staff, the exhibits, the visitors, any events we have on, and the sort of day-to-day running of the museum. I think video games are so broad and diverse that it really does depend on the person and the game. I think that behind a lot of games there's some incredible musicians, artists, story writers, all forms of artists. And I think because of that, the video games are like a combined form of art, and if art can be helpful to young people either through expression or just to sort of absorb and look at, then video games can be just as useful in that way. I think that the history of video games being dangerous or not useful comes from a fairly normal place. It's not unusual for something new to raise some eyebrows and to have assumptions made about it. There are some stereotypes of what video games are and what the people who play video games are, but the problem with stereotypes is not necessarily that they aren't true, it's that it's not a full picture, it's like it's incomplete. Like, of course, there have been cases of certain kinds of people being impacted negatively by certain kinds of games, but that's such a tiny, tiny amount that it's not very accurate to sort of assume that all games and all gamers are going to be a certain way and react in a certain way. It's kind of like chemicals or medicine. Like, if you give it to one person, it can be life-saving, and if you give the same thing to somebody else, kill them. It depends on, like, I think it very much depends on the game as well as the person playing it. I think having an accurate representation of the demographic that they're appealing to is very important. There are gaming awards, and you can get BAFTAs for video games, and in order to submit a game or to nominate a game to win such an award, that game needs to meet certain diversity and inclusion parameters. It needs to have X many minority characters. It needs to have other forms of like non-mainstream characters. You know, if every women, people of colour, disabled people, queer people, all that kind of thing. I think making sure that you're ticking a sort of a sensible number of boxes in your game is a really good way to make people feel more included. We had an exhibit here at the museum where people talked about what video game characters people related to, and a lot of it did boil down to that kind of aspect. And when you can speak to people on that kind of level, the video games have a much more sort of like positive and powerful effect. I definitely think that during the pandemic, video games have brought people together in a social way that they wouldn't have been able to. Online gaming, I mean, gaming is already a very lucrative industry, but overnight, like the numbers got pretty insane. Everybody was playing video games, and they're playing video games with other people. They were just looking for some kind of fulfillment in that kind of social aspect of their life that's suddenly been taken away. And I think that if that hadn't been there, we would be looking at much more serious numbers in terms of mental health, especially among young people. I think a lot of that I couldn't possibly answer, because I expect with the speed that industries like gaming, which is very sort of like technologically sort of focused. I mean, yes, we have esports and that kind of thing now, but I expect that more things will show up. Games will change and they will turn into something else, like beyond what we sort of understand games to be now. One of the things we do at the museum is we encourage people to have a go at video games, and I think once, if that kind of thing takes off, then we will see more people with computer skills, we will see more people with an artistic outlet for how they feel. There are already video games that illustrate things like the experience of depression as a young person. I think that if we can explore the avenues of how video games can be healthy, can be expressive, and can be, like with the online gaming, can be a good source of social contact. I'd like to see it go down that direction, and with more independent creators, rather than just the big AAA games, which will always be around, But I think the more popular games become, and the more people use it as an artistic outlet, the more diverse and more interesting and more useful games will become, like, to society, to young people. Yeah, I think that gaming is definitely like a valid career path. I mean, we have a course at BGI of like how to start your career in video games. I think due to the popularity of video games, young people are going to be motivated to learn those kinds of skills. To be a streamer is to promote yourself, it's to learn your technological setup, it's to learn about like audience reach and all that kind of thing. And these are all skills that would become useful. You know, maybe it starts as a hobby for somebody, but it's definitely something that they can slap on a CV, or like you say, turn into a career if they manage to like tick all the right boxes and create an experience for their watchers that they want to see more of. So if people wanted to help the museum, because we are an independent museum, we do not get government funding the way that a public museum would. We only have the money that people give us, either through donations or ticket sales or retail sales. That's it. So if anybody wanted to support the museum, I'd say visitors, I'd say, buy a ticket. We have an online retail shop. Maybe buy something. As capitalist as it sounds, when it comes to an independent museum, money is what makes us go. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we just assumed we were going to close because the money just dried up. When 90% of your revenue is ticket sales and you can't sell tickets, how can something like that survive? And we were able to do some public fundraising, which was very moving to see people consider us as something that should stay open for cultural reasons. So yeah, I would say spend your money with the museum, really.
It's clear to see that video games have a positive effect on the mental health of the younger generation, and this will always be the case as the industry in popularity continues to grow. There will always be a stigma around both mental health and video games, but as more and more people start to understand and the industry grows and develops, this stigma will soon fade away, and young people are the generation that are continually pushing for this change. Video games bring people together from near and far. They allow for inclusivity for all people of different race, genders, disabilities and more, though there is a long way to go before toxicity in video games allows for people to feel comfortable. Live streaming on online platforms and esports are meaning that more and more young people are finding creative avenues through their passions to make a career out of this too. And as most of us are casual players need an escape from daily life, then video games are there for us all when we need them. Games have come a long way from the beginning, and no one can really predict where they will go, but where they are now, helping young people, and people of any generation, as a mental health help, means that for many, it's game on and not game over.